Welcome to the Aim High broadcast. We have another great topic that we're talking about today, and it is taking good care of yourself. So this is a conversation that my husband and I was discussing about how many times people do not take time to care for themselves because they're waiting on someone else to care for them. And so I want to encourage you to take time to give yourself some self-love, some self-care, because you are important to you. You have to make sure that you are your number one cheerleader. So you have to make sure you take care of yourself and do not depend on someone else to care for you or to make you feel good. So we're going to talk about how should you care for yourself, then why should you care for yourself, and how important it is for you to care for yourself. So one thing is I want to clear up is the misconception about self-care. Self-care is doing some things for yourself, but self-care is not you having self-indulge or self-gratitude or being selfish. That is not being self-care. Self-care is something that you know that you deserve. Maybe you might just need a day of relaxing. Maybe you want to buy yourself something good, but you do not have to self-indulge in any of your desires or being selfish. Also, selfish is not having your own personal profit or pleasure. Not concerned about others, because even when you care for yourself, is you never want your heart to get hardened, or you never want to have a heart where you thinking about you can do something good for someone else. However, to give yourself some self-care is you have to intentionally take care of yourself. You have to intentionally make sure you take care of yourself physically, mentally, and emotional. These are all of the well-beings that work together so you can have some good self-care, and that is taking care of yourself. You are responsible for your physical health. You are responsible for your mental health, and you are responsible for your emotional health. No one else can give you that. However, if there are other mental illness or the emotional illness or things you're going through, then you actually have to step outside and get those resources that can help you. Like you might need counseling, you might need therapy. All of those things are okay, but some things that we can't control within our own being. Because I want to remind you of Galatians 5:22-23. It says, "For the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such thing there is no law." There is no law that's set on earth that tells you that you cannot give yourself all of these fruit of the Spirit, which means God is telling us in this life is that you can have love and joy. You can have the peace and the patience. You can have kindness running through your vein. You can have goodness. You can show goodness. You can have some faithfulness to yourself, faithfulness to God, faithful to your family and your friends, and you can be gentle and kind, and you got to have self-control, because that's when we're going to go back into the misconception of self-care is not you have your own self-indulgence or you to be selfish, but you have some sense of control. You have some restrictions. You have some limits on things that you can do. Is yes, you can go and buy yourself some gifts and some presents. You can go and wine and dine yourself, but not in a way that you lose control, that you're overspending, you're doing too much. There is no law for you to give yourself some self-care. Now, another thing is I want you to take a moment to stop and think, how can you take care of yourself? What self-care that you can give yourself? Then after you start thinking about what you can do for yourself, what are some of those desires? What are those things that you would like to do to help you relax, make you feel good? You want to pamper yourself. Do you want maybe once a month to go get your hair fixed or get your nail fixed? Maybe you want to go to a spa treatment. Maybe you want to treat yourself out to eat, or maybe you just want to be at home to relax. Maybe you might have a goal that you want to pay a bill. That is self-care. Maybe there's a day that you just want to be quiet, you want to relax, or maybe you just want to take a ride. So you have to think about what is it that you need to give yourself that self-care. Now, the other thing is, what are you doing to give yourself there? Which means to have self-care, you have to take time for yourself. Too many times we be so busy doing things for your spouses, for your children, your grandchildren, for the church, for your friends. But do you take time to do something for you? So think about that. When has been the last time you have done something for you? That's when that self-care comes in. Because the question is, what is self-care? What are you doing to give yourself some self-care? So one of the things is self-care is certain activities that you give yourself. It can be physically, it can be exercising, it can be maybe you want to eat healthy, it can be maybe some mental activities. Remember, we mentioned that self-care is physically, mentally, and as well emotional well-being. What are you doing for your mental status? Do you need to read a book? Are you thinking of mindful meditation? Are you going to church? Are you participating in social activities? What are those things that you're doing that you can have some self-care, which means you have to do some activities. You have to plan. You have to do something for yourself. But I also want to tell you one thing is for sure, that self-care can improve your well-being and self-esteem if you practice on doing something good for yourself. So let me repeat that. One thing that you need to know for yourself is that when you take time to give yourself some self-care, it is going to improve your well-being and your self-esteem. It's because when you do something for yourself, it makes you feel good. And it's going to improve your well-being and your self-esteem, because you don't want to get so bogged down that you're doing things for other people that you don't have time to reward yourself. And it is okay that you reward yourself, long as it doesn't get into that self-indulgent and you become selfish. So make sure you take time to do something for yourself physically, mentally, and emotion. Now, the first thing that I want to say, and I want to encourage you, is because we all probably have had a person in our lives like this. And one thing that I had to learn for my own self, mental health, emotional or physically, is that anybody that was attached to me that did not provide me any positive emotions or positive thoughts, or I always felt as though that there was a burden, it always full of confusion, or it's always was something involved with them, is you have to learn to let people go. You need to learn to change certain activities, maybe places you go into, people that you are talking to. It's because if there's anybody in your life that bringing you any type of situation that would trigger you in a negative way. And what do I mean by negative way? Someone that's going to get you out of character, someone that's you always arguing and fussing with, someone that you want to end up cursing now, someone that always keep you upset, someone always when you see this person or you talk to that person or you in company with the person, you get tense, you get upset, you always have to be careful what you say. Anybody that comes or in your life that brings those triggers in your life, You need to cut them off. You need to make a decision to let them go. You need to make a decision that maybe you're not going to take that phone call. Maybe you're no longer going to go out to eat. Maybe a person you thought that was a friend and they actually really are not a friend. Someone that's always wants you to be there for them, but they never there for you. You always calling somebody, they never calling you. You always asking them they're always asking you for things. But when you in need, they're not there. Those people that have those triggers in you is that you need to let them go, because if it's not positive, then it is negative. And so these are those triggers that we know. Other people might not know, but it's about you giving yourself some self-care. We have entered into another year of 2024, and this can be the year of going ahead. And even long as you're on earth, is that you need to make sure that you take time to give yourself some good care. And anybody that is going to trigger anything negative in your participation in life, in your character, in your response, is I advise you to let it go. Now, I also want to tell you that self-care is a journey. Self-care is something that you have to work at. Self-care is something that you owe yourself. Because remember, no one else is going to give you the self-care like you need. Even though that you can be married, have a good spouse, you have children, but there's certain things that you want to do for yourself. Remember, self-care is help building up your self-esteem. It's also for your well-being, because there are certain things that you might want to do or not do that no one else can do but you. So since we're on this journey about on this self journey, a self-care, taking care of yourself, the well-being, is I want to give you some ideas that can help you to give yourself some self-care. Now, one of the things is learn to be nice to yourself. Stop being hard on yourself. Be nice to you. Because being nice to you is a way of you thanking yourself, saying, I have done well today. I've been good today. So compliment yourself. Don't wait on other people to compliment you. Look in that mirror and say, you are beautiful. Look in that mirror and say, I like who I am. I like that I have a good heart. I like that I'm generous. So you know what? Be nice to yourself. Now, the other thing is making better health decisions. So many times we'll always think about certain things that we want to do. And when we talk about also your physical, taking care of yourself physically, is how are you giving yourself some self-care? Are you exercising? Maybe you need to take a 5-minute walk a day. Maybe you might need to do some exercise at home. Maybe you need to do some aerobics. What are you doing to give yourself better health? Are you making better choices with eating? Are you constantly always eating just the fatty foods? Are you always eating sweets? Or are you making better decisions that I decide that I'm going to eat more fruit? Or maybe I'm going to exercise, or I'm going to start the overeating, because remember talking about we don't want to self-indulge. Maybe I want to eat a little bit more. I want to make better food choices. I don't want to eat late at night. Anything that you need to do to give yourself better health, that is giving yourself some self-care. Now, also, we want to talk about another tip is prioritizing better sleeping habits. Oh my goodness, how many of us do not have good sleeping habits? So what do you mean by that? Or what can I do? How can you give yourself some better sleeping habits? Maybe you get to say, you know what? I need to get off this phone. I need to get off of social media for about 9 o'clock. Maybe I need to get to bed early. Maybe I might need to take something to help me relax so I can get a good night's sleep. Maybe I might not be on the phone all night. So whatever you need to do with some sleeping habit, maybe guess what? After church, maybe taking a 30 minutes or an hour nap is going to help you to relax, give you some better sleeping habits. So what are you doing to have better sleeping habits? Okay. So then I want to move to another great self-care on this journey is setting boundaries with yourself and others. How many times have you heard that you need to set boundaries for yourself and also for others? If you do not set boundaries for yourself, then you will allow anything and everything to happen in your life, right? So there are certain things that you need to set boundaries at, certain places that you're not going to go, certain things you're not going to drink, certain things you don't want to entertain. Those are setting boundaries, right? But you also have to set boundaries with other people. This can be family, they can be friends, it can be with your children. You have to set boundaries. And setting boundaries is part of self-care for yourself because it will prevent you from doing more than what you want to do. It will prevent you from giving as much as you want to give. So setting boundaries with yourself and with others is also part of the self-care journey. Now, you also want to think about what things that you are doing for yourself to help you relax and to unwind. What are some of those things that you're doing? What is it that you like doing to help you to relax and unwind? Is it maybe I just want to listen to some nice relaxing music? I want to watch something on television. It can be you love like listening to comedy, maybe going watch a movie, maybe taking a ride. What are you doing to help you relax and to unwind? Only you know what it would take. And so I want to encourage you as you on your self-care journey is to make sure you do something that you like doing. Maybe reading a book. Maybe you're a writer. Maybe you want to write out, get a tab and just write out your thoughts. And then that's part of helping you relax. So you want to make sure that you do something to help you relax and unwind. Now, another thing is, remember I said you need to be nice to yourself. Another part of the self-care journey is that you have to learn that you're going to make some mistakes. But the good part of it is learning from your mistake. So what you want to do is not be so hard on yourself that you think that you're going to be perfect and that you're never going to make mistakes. So you're going to make mistakes because you are not God. You are human. But when you make those mistakes is you just need to address them. And then you can say, what do I need to do not to make this mistake again? So I'm going to give you a prime example is that I know that if I say that this week, I don't want to spend no more than $20. I don't want to go and spend more than $20 going out to eat for breakfast, for lunch, or dinner. So that is the boundaries I set for myself. Now, if I know that on 2 days that I already know that I spent $20, but all of a sudden on that Friday, I just want to just get something that I have a certain taste. I didn't take my lunch. I didn't take my breakfast. So guess what? Now I just spent another $10. So now I realize that I overspent this week. But I'm not going to be hard on myself because then I have to come back and say, okay, I made a mistake. I overspend. So what I'm going to do is I need to make sure that I don't do the same thing the next week. And so in order for me not to do it, then I need to make sure that I take time maybe to do some meal prep. Maybe I need to make sure that my breakfast, my lunch, and I have something ready for me when I get home for dinner. And then it will prevent me from constantly making the same mistake of spending. Now, that's the analogy that I use when it comes to money. But it can be other things that we could be making mistakes on. But acknowledge, address the mistake, and don't continue on making the mistakes. Now, the last thing that I want to encourage you too is something that I had to learn, is that I had to give myself time to grieve. Many times that we are losing loved ones in our family, and every day we hear that someone is passing, right? Because we are not going to live forever. So I had to learn is give myself some time to grieve. That was the self-care that I need. So I would not just always just be depressed and burdened down and sad about losing a loved one, losing a mom, a sister, a father, a spouse. It can be a loved one. It can be an animal that you lost. And guess what? You're heartbroken. And give yourself time to grieve on your self journey, because if you don't, then it's going to constantly be a weight on you. So I want to leave this with you, is make sure that you take time to give yourself some self-care, and whatever that is you do that because you deserve some self-care. You deserve to make sure that you take care of yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally, so you can be a better version of yourself. God bless you. Make sure you subscribe to this page, tag and invite, and give me your comments. I appreciate you. God bless you.